Hey guys, this is Eureka John with Eureka Street Crypto Hub, coming at you live on Theta TV at 10:07, January 21st, the year 2021. And so far, it's already been a crazy year. To think that 2020 was crazy enough, and we decided to just up it up a notch. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the God Protocol. And I hear this referenced quite a bit in a bunch of stuff I read, and I hear about it on YouTube podcasts and all this stuff, the God Protocol. And it kind of seems a little dramatic. I'm a ex-seminary student. I graduated from seminary and studied theology for 7 years, and so my mind kind of works that way sometimes, and I tend to make theological metaphors out of quite a bit of stuff. I just can't help it. But anyway, now that I'm into cryptocurrency and blockchain, and then I see something like the God Protocol, I'm immediately a little like, let me read into this. Anyway, they're talking about smart contracts, of which Chainlink is a part of it, and Chainlink is the oracle that is the connection between real-world data off the blockchain and the data on the blockchain, and then the smart contract in order to manipulate that data. So Chainlink is the oracle that transfers data off the blockchain, like price feeds, weather data, whatever, you name it, and sports scores, and puts it on the blockchain for use in a smart contract. And we'll get into all the details, but I'm just kind of summing it up. Smart contract is a digital protocol run by code, and that is allows a contract to be implemented between two parties automatically without any type of third person or middleman. Hence the God Protocol. So before we fire up on that today, I love this image. It's this kind of universal God with all these different arms and extending out into the universe and collecting the data in order to be fed through the body and put on the tree of life. And Chainlink here, the logo is kind of the symbol. I don't know what this particular piece of art is supposed to be. Oh yes, I do now. That's Calvin and Hobbes right there, and those are the four computers. And Calvin and Hobbes is the third party, the God oracle, the deciding factor that makes the decisions for all these various parties plugging in their information into the computer. And we will see that here in a second. I will show you. We'll get deep into how smart contracts started and some of Nick Szabo's early work, and even go way deep back into 1977. So hold on real quick though. Let's just take a quick look at the market. Let me open that up. Where are you? Here we go. I will do that, and I will get rid of this. Ta-da! All right. And let me see here. Let me go ahead and close that out. Okay, so CoinGecko. Let's see what we got going on here. I mean, everything's just been bleeding red for the past couple days, and that's quite all right with me. I bought some more Bitcoin today because right now is a good time to buy Bitcoin, in case you didn't know. Let me go ahead and add this quick little image. I gotta show you guys this. This is crazy. Let's see here, and then I will browse. And as you can see, Bitcoin is at 31,117. I think it even dipped down to like 28,000 today. It was insane, which is, I think it's rad. It's a great time to buy because Bitcoin's been really high. But any healthy market always corrects itself. And it just so happens a lot of these institutions are starting to get in. And, time to buy Bitcoin, time to sell to whales, because the whales... people are manipulating the market. It's obvious. And then Bitcoin rises up after all the whales buy in, and then all the people, the average Joes, see a high price and like, oh wow, and they get. What Warren Buffett said, I don't know what he said exactly, but basically, you got to buy low and sell high if you're a trader. But if you're a dollar cost averager, just try to buy the dip. I mean, it's just a general rule of thumb. But 90% of people do the opposite. Whenever they see something is popular, they got to jump on the bandwagon, and everybody's got to buy when the price is up because, oh my gosh, FOMO, fear of missing out. And so they're buying at the top, and then Grayscale and PayPal and Cash App all come in when it dips, and they bought. And then they bought heavy and hard. Grayscale, just like last week, I believe, spent like $650 million on Bitcoin. And then it went up, and it went up, and it went up, and it went up at $41,000 and 41,500, somewhere around there, almost to 42,000. And then it's dipping. And all of a sudden, now that things are really low, yesterday at its very lowest, today at its lowest, you see BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and UBS all jumping in it. Yeah, definitely see BlackRock jumping in it today and yesterday. So my best guess is it's going to shoot up again, well above around 50,000, well above 50,000, who knows. And then at that point, that's when all the governments are going to try to manipulate the market and then buy that dip. And then who knows where it's going to go from there. Either way, that was just a little sidetrack. I found it interesting. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Chainlink right here, trading at $19.52. This has been incredibly high. Chainlink is the oracle. It is the smart contract oracle, and that's what brings data to the blockchain. There are other oracles like Telor and Band and a few others, and other blockchains have their own oracles. Cardano is using Emergo, but I bought in Chainlink quite a while ago. As you can see, it's had some action over 1 year. I believe it did shoot up to nearly $20 in August. Then it dipped back down and it's been riding right around here between between $9 and $12 and $13. Then now here it is back up at 23, and then it's dipping back down. And I think, Chainlink staking is just about to come out. I mean, all these large corporations are partnering with Chainlink, like Google. So, there's so much going on. It hasn't even begun. So it's still not too late to buy into Chainlink, I don't think. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take my advice, but this is what I'm doing, okay? But anyway, let's move on. So, the God Protocol. There's a great article on smartcontentpublication.medium.com called Completing the God Protocols, a comprehensive overview of Chainlink in 2021. Supposedly it's a 41-minute read. I didn't sit down for 41 minutes and read it. I wrote it in piece and parcel throughout my day. But it's where I got this snazzy graphic from. And you'll see what this little piece of art is right there on the side. Nick Szabo. He is one of the first people to create smart contracts. And in 1997, he said, "Imagine the ideal protocol. It would have the most trustworthy third party imaginable. A deity who's on everybody's side. All the parties would send their inputs to God. God would reliably determine the results and return the outputs. God being the ultimate in confessional discretion, no party would learn anything more about other parties' inputs than they could learn from their own inputs and the output." Nick Szabo. And it goes on to say, in 1997, computer scientist Nick Szabo described what he termed the God protocols. In short, God protocols refer to the general idea of a set of computer protocols that could arbitrate and facilitate processes involving an exchange of value between two or more independent parties without any bias, error, or privacy concerns. This third party, the perfect third party, aka God, would be equally accessible to all participants, fairly and flawlessly execute actions according to mutually pre-agreed upon rules and commands, and wouldn't leak sensitive information to unintended entities. And when you think about it, all throughout history and all throughout the Bible has covenants. The covenant of Abraham, the covenant of Genesis, the covenant of Noah, the covenant of Jesus. I mean, it's just full of covenants. The Ark of the Covenant with Moses. I mean, it's all these protocols being put in place, and then between God and humans in order to act as an arbiter or some kind of mediator. And this is exactly what we're trying to automate with smart contracts in a way. We've gotten to be such a scientific community that God, in a way, doesn't have a place in a lot of people's lives, and in business, and in tech, and especially in tech, because science, right? And so what they're trying to do, in a way, is create their own God protocol. So that's kind of the way I'm interpreting it, I guess. When extrapolated out to multi-party contracts, God protocols are designed to eliminate inefficiencies and counterparty risk by replacing human-based arbiters / executors with math-based arbitrators / executors, resulting in the correct party consistently getting what they are owed, when they are owed, and from whom they are owed, based entirely on provably objective interpretation of the events in which the contract is written about. Additionally, the God protocols would extract as little value as possible from the process, only receiving what is needed to cover the cost of performing it. And as you saw on that picture, here we go. We have the whole idea on the first article, the subject titled The God Protocols. You have the mutually trusted virtual computer right in the middle, which would probably be Ethereum nowadays. But this is well before Ethereum, and he was just kind of thinking this idea in his head, and I wonder what Vitalik Buterin, who built Ethereum, was thinking, and I'm sure he knows all about Nick Szabo and all this stuff, and kind of based his design on some of Nick Szabo's academic papers. But let's take a quick look, real quick. So you have all these inputs and outputs, and then you have everything encrypted going into this mutually trusted virtual computer that is the third party that all these parties get their information from and base their smart contracts and their decisions from through this objective source, because God is objective, all-knowing, omnipresent everywhere. Think of Ethereum, a world computer everywhere, all-knowing in a way. It has all the nodes with each copy of the smart contract on thousands of nodes all over the world. And it's transparent and accessible, depending on your theology. But anyway, let's take a quick look at Nick Szabo. Here he is. Doesn't have a picture of him. There he is. There's Nick Szabo. Is a computer scientist, a legal scholar, and cryptographer. Come on, dude. All right. Bitgold, which has been called a precursor to Bitcoin. He's best known for that proposed project around the late 90s. Bitgold proposes the idea of utilizing bits, which would be unforgeably scarce. The concept outlined in 2005 was to use Bitgold as a form of digital money similar to precious metals. Szabo posited Bitgold could be created online and used with minimal dependence on third parties for transactions. In 1997, Szabo also introduced the idea of smart contracts. In a paper, Szabo compares smart contracts to vending machines. The theoretical machine takes in coins and through simple computation dispenses product and change according to the displayed selection of the user. He later proposes in the paper to embed smart contracts in a variety of properties that are then controlled by digital means. Because of Bitgold's parallels to Bitcoin, the timing of Szabo's work and similar linguistic traits, some have speculated that Szabo could be Satoshi Nakamoto. Szabo has denied the connection. Nobody wants to be Satoshi, who really is understanding what Bitcoin is all about. Apparently, Craig Wright, the founder of Bitcoin SV, Satoshi Vision, is trying to claim to be Satoshi Nakamoto. Clearly, he does not understand what Bitcoin is all about, because you're not supposed to have a leader of Bitcoin. That's one of the main purposes in the white paper. But either way, whatever. That's a whole other ordeal. Maybe I'll actually cover Bitcoin SV and Bitcoin Cash and all these other Bitcoins for an episode, just to not support these projects, but just to clearly outline and define what the difference is between those projects are with the original Bitcoin. Anyway, I do want to take a look at this what his comparison of smart contracts to vending machines. So first, he's calling it the God protocol, and well, God is a vending machine too, right? So let's see here. Where'd it go? Where are we? Oh, this is a really long article about smart contracts, and I don't think the purpose was meant to really. I mean, it was meant. Of course, it was meant to be read in an academic way. So I wonder if Vitalik really went and read through all this in order to create Ethereum built upon the idea of smart contracts. The basic idea, let's see, here we go. I have to find it. I had it pulled up earlier. It always happens. Vending machine, where are you? Okay, here we go. Yeah, the basic idea behind smart contracts is that many kinds of contractual clauses, such as collateral bonding, delineation of property rights, etc., can be embedded in the hardware and software we deal with in such a way as to make a breach of contract expensive, if desired, sometimes prohibitively so, for the breacher. A canonical real-life example which we might consider to be the primitive ancestor of smart contracts is the humble vending machine. Within a limited amount of potential loss, the amount in the till should be less than the cost of breaching the mechanism. The machine takes in coins, and via a simple mechanism which makes a freshman computer science problem in design with the finite automata, dispense change in product according to the displayed price. The vending machine is a contract bearer. Anybody with coins can participate in an exchange with the vendor. The lockbox and other security mechanisms protect the stored coins and contents from attackers sufficiently to allow profitable deployment of vending machines in a wide variety of areas. Smart contracts go beyond the vending machine in proposing to embed contracts in all sorts of property that is valuable and controlled by digital means. Smart contracts reference that property in a dynamic, often proactively enforced form, and provide much better observation and verification where proactive measures must fall short. Anyway, they're basically saying that the vending machine is the mechanical smart contract. It has the product locked up inside the vending machine, and the person has to insert the money in the correct amount, or in the 90s. In 87, I was putting $1 into a vending machine. A Coke would cost 85 cents and we would get 15 cents back. Actually, we would cut pieces of paper in the size and shape of dollars and put it in there and hook it to a string with tape, and then have it go in there, and we would pull it back out. And then we would get our Coke or Pepsi. Oh, the criminals we were. But you know what? That shows that smart contracts can be hacked if they are not programmed correctly. So watch out for the people like my middle school me creating those fake entrance hacks, and then going in and stealing the product. And that has happened with some of these Oracle exploits via Chainlink, and then some of these decentralized finance protocols of people looking for the weaknesses and the shortcomings and these smart contract exploits in order to be able to sneak in there and use their fake dollar tied to a phishing string to be able to gain entrance into the smart contract, and then be able to pull out money and then pull out the product and fool the system into thinking that the smart contract has been deployed. So watch out for that type of stuff. It's exactly a real world way in which a smart contract could be hacked, and even the vending machine could be hacked by a middle school kid. So you never know. Real quick, let me check on the Theta stream over here. All right, so we are good to go. Still broadcasting live on Theta, and everything is still up and running good. Anyway, so yeah, it goes on, and he basically breaks down everything about accounting controls, EDI interfaces for business, and everything that they can produce, and it never quite adds exactly up to an automated smart contract, but he's laying down the foundations of everything, all this stuff that smart contracts can perform and functions that they can have. And he's justifying his case: privity, online enforceability, observability, hidden knowledge, and contracting phases. All this stuff. The dimensions of contract design. How do you design a smart contract? You have to take all these things into account: the mental and computational transaction costs, contracting phases, the hidden knowledge and hidden actions, online enforceability. Amid all the hype about information warfare, lost in the noise is the fact that it is impossible to commit an act of physical violence over the net. I would beg to differ that nowadays. But, verifiability by adjudicators, privity, protection from third parties, trading off-contract design objectives. And then he said, then he goes into the building blocks of smart contract protocols, and he defines what a protocol is. I mean, honestly, I did not know what a lot of this stuff was before getting into cryptocurrency and blockchain. And I'm learning about computer science. I'm learning about game theory. And it's just incredible. I'm learning about finance and economics, and it just never stops. And here I'm learning the basic definition of a protocol. A protocol in computer science is a sequence of messages between at least two computers. At a higher level of abstraction, a protocol consists of algorithms communicating via messages. These programs act as proxies or agents for human users who communicate their preferences via users' interfaces. We distinguish protocol endpoints by names such as Alice and Bob, but it should be kept in mind that the endpoints are really CPUs, computer processing units, which may or may not be under the control of or taking actions contrary to the intent of the human user. Human users typically do not have full knowledge of the protocol in question, but rather a metaphorical understanding obtained via user interface manuals and so on. Unlike most real-world contracts, protocols must be unambiguous and complete. The protocols are basically an algorithm, a set of instructions to follow sequentially in order to complete an action. And that's all really smart contracts are. You have three different types of protocols: self-enforcing between Alice and Bob, you have a mediated, you have an intermediary between Alice and Bob, and then you have the adjudicated. Something between Alice and Bob, and then there's evidence, and then there's the adjudicator. Apparently they go through a bunch of other stuff, cryptographic protocols, and then there's attacks against smart contracts. He goes deep, and then there's the privy authentication, the protection of the keys, Chaumian credentials, this it goes into the whole idea of the private key and the public key and the hash functions. And here is the picture that was on that picture before. See right there, and they got that from this paper where Calvin and Hobbes, he's God, he's the God protocol, trusted right there in the middle, and there's all these people here doing inputs and outputs, and maybe they have disputes with each other or some kind of agreement, but people need that intermediary because I just sold back in July my house, and I moved to a different house, and I can only imagine if I did not have a realtor to act as kind of a broker or an intermediary between me and the people that I sold my house to. I think I'm a nice guy. I want to give everybody a break. I always want to give everything away for free, and that's my problem. And my wife, she's like, you can't just give everything away. So I would have probably given them the deal of the century. But it's a good thing that I had a realtor that was in between us, because that prevented me, well, my wife too, but prevented me from giving those people the deal of the century and basically losing all the money that I was able to gain on my house had I not had some kind of mutually trusted third party to act on my behalf, and then they had a realtor as well to act on their behalf, and they met in the middle. And that's why the function of underwriters to take away the whole concept of humans giving in, human emotionality out of it. That's why you have brokers. But what smart contracts do is the broker is math, and they take away that person in the middle that has to act as kind of the God protocol, and it does it automatically by math. Um, and it goes on, and encryption and stuff like that, and the contract with bearer, and then it goes into digital cache and content rights management and watermarks and all types of stuff, reputation systems, which is the precursor to a lot of the whole credit system and how to automate those. And here we go with credit. I mean, it just yeah. And then I went from a link in this paper. Well, I guess these and then I found this paper from 1977, a method for obtaining digital signatures in public key crypto systems. All this is on the NakamotoInstitute.org. So in case you're curious and you're a total nerd like me and you love to dig into this type of crap, you can go to the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute, and there's all these papers that are surrounding. There's of course the Bitcoin white paper. There's papers that surround things like smart contracts, all the original precursors to Bitcoin, B money, how to timestamp a digital document, a bunch of crypto anarchist type of papers by Timothy May here, the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto. You have Stuart Haber, Nick Szabo, formal language for analyzing contracts, the God protocols, contracts of bearer, David Chaum, Ralph Merkle, and you see these Merkle trees that are used in a lot of computer protocols. Julian Assange right here, if you really want to study a lot of the stuff that's gone on with that guy, who's now basically been deemed a criminal by the U.S. government. There's just a lot of really good stuff on this website. If you want to know about how all this stuff started and really get to know what is it about Bitcoin that makes it unique and makes it valuable, besides just the standard answers that there will only be 21 million ever made, you can mine it, and it's like digital gold. No, if you really want to get into where the power of it comes from, go to the NakamotoInstitute.org and really dig in. Your negative reputation, the Sybil attack. A Sybil attack is where people create multiple identities in order to overcome a network. Think about like a game. I play this game here called Conflict Nations, right? Let me get it to pull up. And it's a really good game in which people can pick a country, then they form coalitions and alliances, and they fight each other and invade each other. And like here I have my coalition, and everybody messages each other, and they fight against other coalitions in the world. Well, if somebody were to go in and create multiple accounts, I have this Japan here trying to invade my city of LA, that not allowing that to happen. But anyway, somebody could create multiple accounts in here and tilt the game in their favor. That obviously is highly illegal, and you will be banned if you do that from about any and all games online. So there are ways to prevent amateurs and people from doing that, but this is what they're trying to prevent they're trying to prevent Sybil attacks in Bitcoin and in any type of blockchain network, is by people establishing multiple identities and taking over a large amount of the nodes to tilt the protocols and the contracts in their favor. So it's kind of a way of hacking it. And there are mechanisms and devices and ways to prevent that. But anyway, it goes on. Just go to the Nakamoto Institute and dig in, by all means. Anyway, so this back to Chainlink and back to the God protocol. So there's three parts to the God protocol. In the broad sense, the God protocols require three distinct components. One, the physical network that performs the work of the third party, aka the blockchain. Two, the software for understanding a wide range of logic and triggering actions, the smart contract. And three, external connectivity to the outside world so that it can consume input data and generate output actions involving any combination of data sources and external systems. And that is the Oracle. These components can be broken down into three core technologies: blockchain, smart contract, and oracles. If you want to get all theological, The blockchain could be the Father, smart contracts could be the Son, Jesus, and oracles could be the Holy Spirit, if you really want to think about it that way. When you think about ancient times, there's always the Trinity. This Jesus was kind of the mediator between mankind and God, and the Holy Spirit acted on behalf and guided the way and brought the information from the earthly realm to the heavenly realm. Oh, Lordy. Anyway, so yeah, blockchain, the physical body decentralized computer network. The first component necessary to the God protocol is the physical computing network responsible for processing the instructions sent to it and facilitating the actual exchange of value between parties, assets, rights, and document. Since the God protocols must form a trustworthy and unbiased third party, the computing network cannot be run by a central administrator able to exercise authoritative control or influence of the process. There needs to be a way for users to definitively prove that the computation performed by the God protocols were done correctly. This is where blockchain comes into play, serving as a global computer network responsible for physically exchanging value between two or more parties in a non-custodial manner and documenting the results as data stored in an immutable ledger that anyone can verify as being valid. And it has to be decentralized. So think about this. Centralization is you have the centralized banking system right in the middle. And you have Bob sends money to Alice through his bank, and Alice receives the money in her bank. And you have the centralized transaction in which Bob sends the money to that bank, and the bank disperses the money to Alice. In a decentralized blockchain transaction, you have Bob sends the money through Alice to the blockchain. The blockchain transfers money between accounts without a trusted third party taking custody. So he sends it to the blockchain, and Alice receives money to her public address, and it never goes through a bank, but it gets sent to all these to one node, and it gets copied to all these other nodes, verifying and making sure that everybody has the same answer, and it does not have to have some kind of bank or intermediate third party, and then Alice gets her money directly. The question is, how does a network of computers reach a consistent consensus or agreement about the shared state of a shared ledger despite malicious attempts to corrupt it? The answer is proof of work. The financial incentives and decentralization. In a proof of work blockchain, each blockchain node, the miner, batches together a bunch of pending transactions sent by users called a block and competes to get their block approved by being the first miner to generate a specific cryptographic hash through brute force, basically guessing random numbers until correct. And these long chains of numbers and letters, it's really, really, really hard to just randomly guess it. So it takes a high-powered computer to go through tons of variations until the right combination is found. And the first node to find this valid hash wins the block reward, which is newly minted cryptocurrency and the transaction fees. And the block of transaction is confirmed by all other nodes on the network after that. And they go, did you get that what I got? You got what I got? You got it? You got it? Got it. They all get consensus, and then it's added to the ledger, and the transaction is done. So there's kind of a diagram. You have the centralized, you have all these nodes, and if they have to go to the central point to get to wherever they're going in the end, if this center part gets corrupted in any way, then none of these nodes are any good. And here's a decentralized version network, and then over here is a distributed ledger in which really if one of these nodes pops out and falls, it doesn't matter. There's a billion other routes to get to where you need to go. So that's the beauty of a distributed ledger. So it doesn't matter if the power grid goes out in one city over here, because you have 10 other cities that it could go through in order to get to where it needs to go. The process is similar to a lottery competition between computers for the reward. It's designed to make it this way in order to make it difficult for a single miner or group of miners to consistently generate a valid hash, keeping the network decentralized. And it just kind of shows you basically the sequential order which blocks are in. If one block gets messed up, then it screws up every other block after that, and then you'll see a mistake, and then none of these nodes will get to have consensus because they will have different answers, and then that's when you know the network got screwed with. Then there's different ways of going about this in the decentralized network. There's proof of work, proof of stake, proof of authority, proof of reserve, proof of reputation. There's a bunch of different proofs. Yeah, it just goes on. But basically, the body of all this is the blockchain, and these are all the nodes, Bitcoin nodes, right? As of some specific date around the world. So you can see that it would be really hard to take down the Bitcoin network. I mean, they're all over the world in every country pretty much. And yeah, if one government decides they don't want Bitcoin and they're going to shut down all the nodes like the United States, look at all these nodes over here in Europe and China and Asia and Australia and even a few in Africa and South America. They're not going to shut down the network. So smart contracts is the brain, the decentralized application. On top of the blockchain, there's the code that you can write on top of it, and Ethereum is the first blockchain that is able to host smart contracts directly on top of it. And there are now several of them, and then there's been some Bitcoin resolutions to this, like the Lightning Network, and stuff like hash time locked contracts. But Bitcoin was really not made for smart contracts. So they've been making some adaptations and layers on top of Bitcoin in order to add smart contracts. There are other blockchains like Cardano and Zilliqa and Ethereum, Polkadot, and all these other blockchains that are designed with smart contracts in mind. But Bitcoin was the original, and it is the most secure. So that is the benefit. So that's why people are calling it like digital gold and stuff. It's not the fastest and it's not the smartest, but it is the most valuable. Though there were some minor advancements in between, the Ethereum blockchain generated the next major. In between, the Ethereum blockchain generated the next major advancement in 2015 by launching support for programmable smart contracts. It's basically transformed the function of a blockchain from serving as a single application into serving as a world computer able to simultaneously support many different applications at the same time. So you can build on top of Ethereum. There's tons of decentralized finance applications going on right now being built on top of it. There's all types of protocols and services and websites being built on top of Ethereum. With smart contracts involved. I have my little MetaMask wallet right here, and it creates dApps. Decentralized applications are the websites built with these wallets and blockchain in mind that have blockchain connectivity. Decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. I love the sound of that. I am part of the DAO. Smart contracts also expanded the types of computation on the blockchain. Smart contracts also expanded the types of computation the blockchain could assign to those tokens, such as the creation of decentralized autonomous organizations, the DAOs, for decentralized voting between specific token holders, as well as the decentralized finance ecosystem that combines tokens and smart contracts to facilitate decentralized lending and borrowing markets. I mean, if we had our United States government voting system placed on a DAO, we would not have had any of these issues go on with all this alleged voter fraud and all this stuff and all this controversy and tension and division in the United States that we see now. If all voting was placed on a blockchain and we could just vote through our devices, and it would be immediate, it would be immutable, and it would be I can't think of the word, but you wouldn't be able to argue against it. Anyway, it kind of just shows now the third aspect of it, the triune God protocol. The third component of the God protocol is for smart contracts to become aware of events and interact with systems existing outside native blockchain they run on. External connectivity entails two functions: consuming data originating outside the blockchain and passing instructional commands to external systems for them to perform. So here you see the graphic: New York Stock Exchange, Bloomberg, Satellite data, this lock, I guess, is for things like hotels or cars to be able to unlock. Shipping data, logistics, temperature, say you're shipping something in a container that is temperature sensitive, like the vaccines, and you need to ship something, and by the time it gets there, if the temperature was anywhere out of where it should have been, then that means the product is spoiled, and the smart contract could have funds that were locked in there as a deposit, and if the products were spoiled, then the person who sent the products would immediately receive part of that penalty deposit, and it would automatically happen. Or say, for instance, you had weather data, and your weather insurance, your insurance was on a smart contract, and your house got blown over by a tornado. Well, the data from the local weather area would find the properties that were destroyed by or had tornado damage, and then the smart contract would automatically issue the payout. You wouldn't have to go through claim processes and all this long rigmarole that they make people go through and jump through hoops, and it takes like a year to get some kind of settlement out of insurance companies because they don't want to pay you. So what the smart contract does is it makes payment immediate through through data feeds and through Internet of Things and 5G and all these big data devices that gather and transmit data. And with the code that does that is Chainlink, and it's the Oracle, and then it puts it on the blockchain and it verifies that data, and then it goes through the smart contract, then through Chainlink, and then it goes back out through the payment system in order to make sure you get paid. And that's how Chainlink works. It is the Oracle that goes between those to form the God protocol. So you have the blockchain, you have the smart contract, and you have the Oracle to real world data. And right here you have an illustration of the complete God protocol, connecting existing world to the new world. Blockchains by themselves are dumb. They're just inherently closed and deterministic systems, meaning they have no built-in capabilities to talk to and exchange data between external systems, as doing so could break network consensus, because blockchains are highly secure. They need to remain highly secure. Well, how do they remain highly secure? Well, they have an oracle that surrounds them. And it's not just one node. It's not just one Chainlink node that it goes through. So don't let this deceive you. Within this Chainlink node, there's a network of a highly decentralized network up here of just a bunch of Chainlink nodes. And they all run consensus with each other. And they get their data from tons of different sources. Here you can see an illustration of that. You have the data sources: temperature, home data, weather data, sports data, price feeds and statistics and real estate data, all being fed, and it's not going to go into one node. And this, as you can see here, it says no, not one node. It's not going to go through one node. It's going to go through thousands of nodes that all confirm this data, and each of these nodes may get the data from separate places. So unlike blockchains where all these different nodes have to come to consensus of the exact same thing, Chainlink nodes don't really have to. They can get nodes from various different places. And as you can see, Chainlink nodes have the growing network effect here. This is a monolithic Oracle network, and there's a heterogeneous Oracle network. There's just tons of different ways Chainlink can get the data to apply to a smart contract. More than one node could go to one smart contract, one node could go to multiple smart contracts. There's just many ways you can work it. There's different ways, and so there's three parts of it. You have the node operator, and you have the Oracle, the Chainlink node. You have the entire Chainlink network, which is all the nodes working together. And basically a Chainlink network is a network of Chainlink networks. So there's node networks within the larger node networks. So it can get as huge as you want it to be. And there's a large diversity of different types of nodes. Again, this illustration, as you can see here, data providers, the chain link nodes, the smart contract, and the blockchain. There's a diversity of data sources. There's APIs. For instance, think about Uber right here. So Uber leverages 3 separate APIs. APIs are application programming interfaces. They're little bits of code. When you look at a website like Uber, for instance, you will see various aspects of that website, and how Uber operates is it has API feeds. It feeds the information. You have Uber leverages 3 separate APIs to support their ride sharing platforms. A GPS API in order so you can look and see where your Uber driver is, and the Uber driver can locate you, and that's an API called Mapbox. You have the SMS texting API for messaging, which is Twilio, and it's used for enterprise text messaging like that, in order to message back and forth with your driver. And then you have the US dollar API Braintree for the payments, to know exactly where the payment for the Uber is supposed to go, and how that's supposed to be done, and how much, and all that. And through its external adapter technology, Chainlink oracles can establish a connection to any open or authenticated API, thus allowing a smart contract to communicate virtually with any external system. So what the Uber app does, it takes people to interact with it. If it were working with on the blockchain, this could just be done automatically without a driver, with an automatic car, and you could on your phone hail an automatic car. The car would have a built-in wallet to it. The self-driving car would come up to you, and you would get in, and say multiple people owned that self-driving car. 4 people owned the one car, and you could have 5 accounts in that wallet attached to the car. And when you pay that fare in that self-driving car to get from point A to point B, when you get out of the car, that fare will be pulled out of your wallet, and then it will be divided 5 ways. So it will go to the 4 people that own the car, and then the 5th of it will go to the car's bank account for maintenance. So then the car could, after a certain amount of miles, a smart contract would trigger, and it needs to detour to the shop to go get an oil change, and it would automatically pay the shop for the oil change, and that comes out of the wallet for the car's maintenance. And so you can see how all that works with smart contracts and the oracles gathering data. And I mean, it's just, it would take an oracle for the car to realize that it's hit a certain amount of mileage or needs maintenance by the internet IoT feeds, feeding the car feeding the data through the oracle to the smart contract to trigger the smart contract to initiate the certain action that it needs to go get the oil change. And how did it know this? It knew this from its sensors, which are IoT devices. And then how did that data get to the smart contract? It got to the smart contract through the Chainlink code and through the Chainlink oracle. The API allowed that to happen as well. And here's a standard API model in which businesses could hire a lot of there's specialized companies that do Chainlink nodes, and here's a bunch of them. There's Steakfish. There's I can't really read a lot of these, but there's Fires, I believe, is another one. But let's check out Steakfish really quick. And I did an entire video on oracles, and you can go back and see some of these websites. And I did a more comprehensive look at a lot of these websites, the stake.fish. And so you can stake your cryptocurrency on these. But these guys run a Chainlink node. And companies can hire these types of companies in order to process the data for them and put them on the blockchain. Or companies could build their own Chainlink nodes if they don't want to deal with an external third party to do that. So a company could have their data and do business as usual and hire one of these nodes or multiple of these nodes to process the data and put it on the blockchain. Or they could build their own Chainlink nodes and do that and put it on the blockchain. So there's different ways you can go about it. and it just talks about security and decentralization of all the nodes in order to make sure it's completely secure. And then here it goes into privacy. There's different ways of going about privacy. There's whatever way fits your business. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of different ways. There's Deco, zero knowledge proofs, Mixicals, and Oracle Power mixer design that generates transaction privacy on the blockchain that separates the smart contract logic from its resulting payment. There's the town crier. I don't really understand this one, but basically the transaction is done in kind of a black box computing environment where the node operator doesn't see the instructions sent by the smart contract, and then the person receiving the data doesn't see where it comes from. So I don't know. It's way over my head. But yeah, there's just a whole lot of stuff in this God protocol. It's just all these ways. It's kind of like a mental gymnastics way of going about finding some automated, trusted third party in order to do transactions and contracts between people. Life is about contracts. Humanity is about contracts. And this is basically what our conception of God throughout history has always been, this kind of third-party mediator giving us salvation from other people in order to have some kind of third-party entity act as the contract arbiter. And when you look throughout all types of religious texts, all throughout history, you see covenants and contracts and promises, and all done by some omniscient, omnipotent God. And that's kind of, it starts off like that, and then it goes into what the Chainlink token does, and it acts as a reward, and it maintains the integrity of each Chainlink node, and a person with a malfunctioning or bad node or malicious node, they'll be slashed and they won't receive the rewards for the Chainlink. It basically acts as the currency keeping everything together, the glue. Yeah, so and it goes through all these different use cases. Yeah, look how deep this goes. Yeah, there's the Chainlink Oracle, price feeds, web APIs, verifiable randomness, off-chain computation, blockchain abstraction layers. And then it goes through all these different users, exchanges. There's Loopring, that's a layer on top of Ethereum. Just information feeds, basically. Insurance right here. Yeah, Ether risk is pretty interesting. Parametric insurance for real world events such as flight delays. So if you have that insurance policy on there, then they have a price. They have a data feed that connects to flight information, and if you have that insurance policy signed up, and that data that flight was canceled or delayed gets fed into that price, fed into that data feed, and activates your smart contract, then you'll get a refund or something for that. I don't know. Whatever the insurance company puts in the smart contract. There's pegged assets here, which are basically stable coins, and those are they use Chainlink supports pegged assets by checking to see if their off-chain reserves match their on-chain token balances. There is real-world assets, rebase tokens. I mean, there's so many different things, and you can just go through here and click on all this stuff. NFTs, on-chain collectibles, basically digital baseball cards that are verified on the blockchain, and you can't duplicate them. And people are paying big money for NFTs. There's betting platforms. Pool Together is pretty interesting. Basically, it's a no-loss savings game. You put in some money in some kind of pool, and by smart contract, that pool invests in yield-producing assets, and then the yield that is produced from everybody pooling their assets together once a week randomly. One of the participants who deposited in that pool gets picked. by Chainlink and their whole randomness that supplies randomness in data, and then they win the yields for that week. So it can be pretty profitable if you believe in that type of stuff. I'm not a lottery type of guy myself, but it looks pretty fun for people who are into that type of stuff. And then there's on-chain gaming. So there's just tons of stuff. This is just some of their partners in the decentralized Oracle ecosystem. I mean, it goes on, and it goes well beyond this. It's just too many to list here. Here we got Unibright. It's a great project. IOST. Just got. I mean, there's just. I'm not even gonna. There's Aave. Yeah. And then you have large enterprises like Google, Oracle, and Swift. I mean, Swift is going to be completely taken over. Swift is based on COBOL and Fortran and these ancient languages, and they have to have some way to be able to phase Swift over to new ways of doing banking businesses, but they have all this information on the old Swift ways. And how do you do Swift payments and connect it to the blockchain? Well, by Chainlink and by oracles and smart contracts. And you need the oracles to deliver all this Swift payment information from this crappy old computer languages to make it translatable to the blockchain, and it's done through Chainlink. There's a whole bunch of other things you can go on here. The partners and donors are huge companies such as Microsoft, IBM, Intel, JP Morgan, Siemens. So I mean, it's just so much stuff. Grant programs, you can get involved in it. They're hiring tons of people right now. Anybody and everybody that knows anything about this type of stuff. I mean, I would love to get a job with Chainlink. Hey guys, this can be my job application. All right, I would love to get a job with Chainlink. There's some really smart people working for Chainlink. Sergey Nazarov is the co-founder. Some people even say he's Satoshi. I doubt that. But there's some pretty compelling evidence. There's great videos on it. There's a chief scientist, Ari Jules, professor of computer science at Jacobs Institute at Cornell Tech. He's former chief scientist of world's renowned cybersecurity company RSA. Formalized proof of work consensus in 1999. Some people have postulated that he might be Satoshi. I mean, there's just Steve Ellis, Ben Chan, Adeline Zhao, and there's a bunch of really smart advisors and researchers. Look into these people. And then they have the Smart Contract Summit every year. I would like to try to go to this next year. So, conclusion. Using technology to build a better tomorrow. Putting it all together, Chainlink Network has unparalleled qualities that make it primed to become an industry standard as the most widely used Oracle network relied on a variety of applications from all blockchain to get any off-chain resources. There are other oracles, like I said, but Chainlink is the first mover, and it is the largest, and it has the network effect, and has the best partnerships, and right now they haven't even implemented staking, and unless you own and run a node, you cannot stake Chainlink, but they're going to be rolling that out. I mean, right now the price is only where are we at with Chainlink right now? The price is $19.32. That is dirt cheap. Once staking goes into action, a lot of that stuff is going to be locked away. A lot of the Chainlink tokens will be locked away. And then the awareness of Chainlink by all these large corporations, I believe it was Grayscale or BlackRock, one of the two. They're pulling Chainlink into their asset management portfolios. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it might be a good idea to get into Chainlink. So let's see here. So this is their conclusion. Having a universal connection layer will be critical to adding the final piece to the God protocols, allowing blockchain-based smart contracts to exchange value using any input and output needed, along with security techniques to ensure that those inputs and outputs operate without bias, inaccuracies, or privacy concerns. While there is much to do, it is fairly clear that the blockchain, the body, smart contracts, the brain, and oracles, the senses, will form the foundation of a trustless third-party computing network that powers the world's next generation of digital agreements. The only component left then is the soul. Like any technology, the God protocols are what we as human beings make them to be. Tools are simply that, tools, and it's up to us to use these tools to make the world a more fair, equitable, and transparent place for conducting businesses and honoring contracts. It is the people who create the applications and send the commands to the God protocols. Thus, our ethics, commitment, and higher purpose must guide us in our efforts to apply blockchain-based smart contract and decentralization oracles to achieve the maximum social effect. Users receive the outputs they deserve based on the true amount of input they've put forward. So you get out what you put in, and God is only God if humans are there, right? Chicken or the egg? Was God there or humans there? Did humans create the whole concept of God? Can God exist without humans? We're worshiping God. And this goes deep, deep, deep into philosophy and gets out of the technological realm and goes into theology. And I think we've talked enough about that. And let's look real quick before I sign off. There's another good article on blog.chain.link. On the Chainlink website, there's tons of great literature, but it shows here 77 smart contract use cases enabled by Chainlink. And they include decentralized finance, external payments, gaming and randomness, insurance, enterprise systems, supply chain utilities, authorization and identity, government, and other. But it goes through back again and explains a lot of the same stuff that we just covered, a lot of the same graphics, futures, options, synthetics, and derivatives. That's a whole other episode right there. I'm going to do an episode on synthetics and derivatives because it's really fascinating to me. Something else that I've just learned about since getting into cryptocurrency. Bonds, remittances, tokenized portfolio management, real world assets, like tokenizing real estate and stuff like that. Proof of on-chain reserve, which is people locking up their Bitcoin in order to borrow against it, and that's a smart contract on that. And that's the beauty of decentralized finance, is circumventing the traditional credit system and banking system in order to create your own financing and borrowing against your stuff without some kind of snooty bank officer telling you what you can and can't do with your money. Proof of off-chain reserve, automated asset management, revenue sharing, circuit breaker, for high volatility. In case you're in some kind of stock or asset and the price completely drops, it creates some kind of stop loss, and it's automated on a smart contract. Decentralized exchanges, automated market makers, staking, rebasing, yield farming, external payments, bank payments, retail payments, cryptocurrency payments, employee salaries, remittances, gaming and randomness, random gameplay. People love randomness in games. They love the idea that everything was completely fair. And if you're playing some kind of LARPing game like this, then you want to know, like, you want your Dungeons and Dragons dice, your 20-sided die, to be completely random and as random as possible. Random rewards and NFTs, prediction markets, casino games, state lotteries, no loss savings games, sports and esports. Esports are going to be a huge, huge industry exploding, and a lot of that is going to be run on Chainlink. Insurance, crop insurance, flight insurance, car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, health insurance, marine insurance, all this insurance being given data feeds in order to figure out when, how, and how much a policy should be implemented and paid out. And it will be done automatically and immediate. Supply chain logistics, commercial shipping company purchased parametric insurance smart contract for seaway water levels. Right here, seaway water level data is tracked by the Stormglass IO API for the weather agency. Is fed through the Chainlink feed. Chainlink and blockchains allow for real-time monitoring and full arbitration via data with proof, and it triggers a smart contract. and then automatic insurance payment delivered to policyholder via Ethereum. So and it based on smart contract self-executes based on Seaway reaching predetermined inoperable water levels, and then the payment is made once that's determined. I already talked about that a little bit. Then there's enterprise smart contracts, and Unibright right now is created an entire enterprise decentralized finance system that allows for factoring of invoices done on the blockchain automatically. That's going to be huge. That's Unibright, so you might want to look into that. UBT is the ticker. The private off-chain communication. I don't know a whole lot about that. Solidity computation. Solidity is the programming language for all these smart contracts. So if you can learn Solidity or any other smart contracting language right now as a programmer, you will be ahead of the game, and you could possibly be very well paid if you get any good at it. Nodes as a service, that's another thing that you can go into. Those companies that I showed you, like Stakefish, those are nodes as a service. If you know how to spin up a node and know anything about IT and networking, this could be something that you could do in order to participate in this type of system and make some good money. So yeah, I mean, there's just tons of different stuff. Baseline protocol is a way of standardizing private data on the blockchain, so enterprises can use the blockchain. It's going to be huge as well. Coca-Cola North America just jumped on and created and implemented the baseline protocol into their systems so they can work on the Ethereum blockchain, and that's also done through Unibright. Then there's supply chain, RFID tracking, IoT sensors, customs clearance, bill of lading, invoice and policy of insurance, utilities, our power to our house and utilities are all going to be done on the blockchain, and Chainlink will be the data feed for that. The oracles will be used to feed all of our power consumption data to the grid or from the grid. And then identity. This goes down through a sticky rabbit hole right now going on with the entire COVID identification, vaccination, proof of vaccination type of stuff. Chainlink will be the data feed for that. I'm not sure how I feel about this. KYC and AML. I believe that everybody should be healthy. Everybody should take personal responsibility to be healthy and to stay away from people if they are sick. However, I don't think that we necessarily need to be carrying around some kind of vaccination passport in order to prove where we are. I believe that's going to create paywalls in a way to create various classes in society, the clean and unclean. Again, this gets biblical. It gets like a God protocol. You have the people who are clean versus the unclean. It's all over the Bible. The lepers in the leper colonies, and then Jesus went and walked amongst the unclean, and the implications of the priestly class carrying around their clean passports in the way of some kind of certification that they had done the right sacrifices and burning of incense and all that other stuff, the offerings. So yeah, I don't know. I just see a lot of parallels with this stuff, and it's a slippery slope, and I don't know what to think about it all right now. I just like the tech of it all, and the idea of big data and privacy and automation, and but this here kind of takes me back and makes me rethink of where a lot of this stuff is going. So you can be as optimistic or as pessimistic as you want to be, but it's definitely something to consider. Automated classification of humanity. Yeah, we'll see. So social media identity and domain names. Unstoppable Domains is connected by Chainlink, and that's a way to connect your crypto account and your crypto wallet address to something that is readable, much in the way that IP addresses had become readable with domain names like pets.com instead of 192.18 point something point blah, 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 some set of numbers. It's something that's legible. My Ethereum wallet address is eurekajohn.crypto. So if you want to send me some Ethereum as a tip for making this video, bam, eurekajohn.crypto is my address, and it will pop into my wallet. Then there's just all types of stuff here. You just keep on going down all these ways to enhance your smart contract with Chainlink. Then there's another really good article of digital identity on the blockchain, the DID, and this goes in deep to what I was just talking about the whole Chainlink creating the digital ID. What people say is if you're going to a bar and you need to show the bartender that you are 21, you won't have to show them all your personal data, your address, your name, or anything like that. It'll just be a red light or a green light based upon the data being fed into your device. And they won't have to see anything, and that data is trusted and secure, and that's all the bartender has to see is just the red light or the green light that you are indeed over 21. Yeah, this could be good or bad, like I said, but I'm not. That's a whole other episode, just going deep into this whole ID issue, and I'm not probably the right person to sit here and talk about vaccination identification programs and government oversight on that. So, yeah. Anyway, yep. So here we are. I think that's about all I wanted to cover. I've probably been going on. Shit, this is a really long episode. All right, I'm going to call this episode quits. Let's see if anybody ever logged on at Theta. Oh, hey, what's up, Fauti Rebecca? Let me go ahead and throw you some T-Fuel for jumping on. And I am going to go ahead and stop recording this. And I'm going to upload this to YouTube. I'll put all these links in the YouTube description. Hit the like button and maybe subscribe if you want. I mean, I don't really care. I'm just doing this because I like doing it. All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Bye.